Today is Thursday, December the 24th. It is officially Christmas Eve. I am your host, Casey Phoenix, and this is my daily thought. It's coming to you a little bit earlier today because at my regular job, I didn't have to work all day today. We did a half day today. Obviously, we're off tomorrow, which, by the way, my goal is to do an episode tomorrow. I guess a Christmas episode or what have you. It depends on how things going, because I've been up and down lately. But anyways, I'm thinking of where to start on this. This is more like a therapy sesh, is what it is. It's a therapy sesh. Because I had my daily thought, obviously. And usually with my daily thoughts, as the day progresses, I think about it more and more. It just stirs in my head with a whole bunch of other stuff, all the other things going on in my head. And I just, more stuff was just added to it. So I'm looking for the way to best deliver all of the add-ons that came in along with it marinating throughout the day. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Where to start? Obviously, by the title, it's not easy being vulnerable. For some reason, and that probably would have ended up being a Freudian slip. I was about to say it's difficult being vulnerable. But yeah, the title is It's Not Easy Being Vulnerable. And one reason I believe, and I'm not always going to be looking in the camera during this because I'm more focused on my thoughts than on focusing on looking in the camera like I usually do when I record. But for those who listen to the podcast, it doesn't matter because you can't see what I'm doing. But with being vulnerable, is you want to, you really want to sometimes. I don't know. I mentioned this before. As people have experiences in life, it changes how they interact with the world. And based on my experiences in life, it's kind of like I don't know if you've seen that show Damages. It's well, not old. Damages it was out in probably like 5 years ago, I think. I think it was how many seasons? I think it was 5 seasons from 2011 or so to 2016 or something like that. But one of the main characters, who's played by Glenn Close, and the name of her character is Patty Hughes. And I mentioned Patty Hughes before. And one thing that Patty Hughes always said to Ellen, she said, trust no one. And thank you. I had seen 111 on my microwave. Anytime I see 111, 222, 333, 555, so on and so forth, I always say thank you. So yeah, or 1111, I always say thank you. I just look at it. It's just my little thing. I look at it as a form of good luck and stuff. So that's just me. But anyways, she said trust no one. And I believe some people get into that mindset because when they do trust others, when you trust someone, you're willing to give them information, or you're willing to give them control. I'll give you an example, something just really simple. If you do a search on the internet, whether you go on Google or DuckDuckGo or Bing or whatever you decide to use for a search engine, when you put in whatever you're searching for, let's say you're searching for broccoli casserole. I'm just throwing this out here. Whenever you type in broccoli casserole into that search engine, you're trusting that the results you're going to get back will be for broccoli casserole. You're trusting that you didn't waste your time going to this website where you could have went somewhere else or opened up a cookbook or done this or done that. And you're trusting that the results that will come back will be for broccoli casserole. Obviously, it will be, because if they didn't bring back the correct searches, the sites wouldn't be around for that long. But that's just an example. Anytime you trust your giving power and you're doing something on faith, whether it be with man or machine, that you will get back what you asked for. But on the other side of that, now that you've done that search, depending on how the tracking is, they now know you like broccoli casserole. So they now know that, oh, well, this person was looking for a recipe for broccoli casserole. They're located in such and such area, or are there any sales in such and such area? Whatever advertisers for grocery stores may be having a sale on broccoli this week, let me throw one of those ads up in front of them when they go to another site, using the ads and so on and so forth, and things that happen behind the scenes with tech. But I'm just throwing it out there. But the reason I'm throwing that out there is because you were trusting, but the information that you gave them by letting them know, hey, I like broccoli casserole, that information was then used in a way against you, whether you realize it or not, to give to advertisers to see if they can get you to buy that advertiser's product, whether it's broccoli on sale or whether it's cheese or cream of mushroom or whatever you put in your broccoli casserole. Everyone's different. So, and it's sort of like that with people too, where if you're willing to confide in an individual, they then have information about you that they can later use. Where, let's say a person knows that you do not like conflict, then they'll know that it's a possibility that, okay, unless something really pushes them to the edge, they're not going to speak up, so they'll just go with the flow. So I don't have to worry about this. I can just throw this out there, and I know they're not going to say too much anyway, and they'll say what I want them to say during the time, as long as I don't push it too far, type things. Or if they know that you did something previously that was taboo and stuff, they have that information that they can hold to themselves or that they could tell somebody else. If you fall out with that person, they could be vindictive and then say to someone else, well, you know, such and such did this, 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 and that. There are so many things that come with being vulnerable. If someone knows that you love them very much and you open yourself up to be vulnerable to let that person know you love them very much. And I'm not talking about specifically romantic. It can be any type of relationship. Take your pick. And they're like, well, I know this person loves me a lot, so I can possibly do this to my advantage because I know this piece of information. things like that happen. People are like that. If you happen to get a bonus at your job and you tell someone, whether it be your mother or your cousin or your best friend or whatever, and then it's like, well, I know they just received a lump sum of money. This would be the best time to ask, can I borrow something? Or can I have something? But they wouldn't know if you weren't being vulnerable. Because I look at being vulnerable as giving information. And it takes a lot to be vulnerable with people. One of the complaints from my ex, he knew how I felt about certain things, but he said I came across as cold at times. And I guess that's happened over the years. Even though I tell people, I have a hard shell, tough on the outside, mushy on the inside. So, yeah, but I'm not one who just always talks about my emotions with people or how I feel or things like that, unless I'm very close to them. My god sister or god sisters, the one in Brooklyn and the one here in California, we've had some very heartfelt conversations where I've told them things, they've told me things. Same thing with the girl I call my little sister in Georgia. I've told her stuff, she's told me stuff. I've been vulnerable with them because I've always felt they were close enough to me where I could do that. But it's weird where people who don't know you that well expect you to just tell everything about your life or to tell every emotion that you feel. That just amazes me. They're just like, you're not open enough, or you don't really say much about this, and so on and so forth. And I'm just like, I've only met you, 2 months ago? Why would I tell you everything? Now, obviously, I'm vulnerable when I do this podcast. I tell you guys a lot of things on this podcast. I haven't told you guys everything. I'm saving that for later. But I've told you guys a lot of things. And it takes a lot to be vulnerable. It's not easy being vulnerable. Because anybody who, if they were I guess you could say someone who schemes, they could go through and listen to every single one of my podcasts and get the gist of how my personality works and how I deal with people, which also they would know that I'm not quick to let anyone close to me. So that's there too. But if they were looking to find out more information so they could do this or do that, I've been vulnerable. I put it out there, trusting my listeners of my podcast. And it's not always easy doing that. But I do it because one reason I do this is because I enjoy doing it, as in the podcast itself. I enjoy taking my mind off of all of the crazy stuff that goes on, because I deal with politics too. And for those who have been following the podcast, you know I run a political channel, and I have to follow politics usually a minimum of 4 hours a day. I always tell people, before you have a political discussion with someone, if you're not following politics a minimum of 4 hours a day from several sources across the board, then more than likely you want to stand down because you probably don't know what's going on. And I have to follow all of these sources. I have to keep up with this. And it can be overwhelming at times where it's like, oh my goodness, this happened. Oh my goodness, that happened. Da 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 da. And that's why I love this show, because this show, Keeping It Real with KC, this is an anything but politics channel. This is my form of escapism, where I come to, and when I do the wacky news, which I love covering wacky news stories, I love covering sports because, again, I don't know anything about sports because I'm not a sports person. So it's always fun when I learn things about sports, or when I do stuff for entertainment, just like I'm adding in soon enough the tarot card readings and working on that, and doing the movie recommendations and all the other stuff. It's a form of escapism for me and also for everyone else. But throughout all of these episodes, I'm still being vulnerable, putting myself out there. And when dealing with people one-on-one, being vulnerable, it just isn't easy, because I always have that Patty Hughes quote in my head: trust no one. I usually, when I deal with someone on a personal level, if I don't know them very well, like my god sister in Brooklyn, I've known her for, oh gosh, what year are we in? 2020? So what, 23? Am I adding right? I don't know, 23 years, something like that. Yeah, 23 years and some change, at least 23 years, because I've known her since 90, or maybe 24 years, because I've known her since 96, I think. And my other god sister around the same time, because we all met. The three of us all met each other around the same time because we were at the same agency. So, yeah. And then my little sister, I've known her since 2008. So over a decade. And throughout the years, people have come and gone, where I've been close with them at a time, but then it's just, you drift apart. As our lives change, so do our needs, as I've said. But the older version of me, when I met people, I was a little bit more vulnerable. I was a little bit more open to discussing things. But this version of me is always that Patty Hughes quote in my head: trust no one. And when I meet someone new, I usually don't tell them things I don't want them to know. They may think that I'm telling them something, I don't want to say newsworthy, but something with some meat on it, something of substance. But I don't tell anybody anything I don't want them to know. If I tell somebody something that they may consider a substance, sometimes it's more strategic, is what it is. So, yeah, just to make them feel a little bit more at ease. Because for some reason, people trust other people that they know stuff about. It's weird that, and that happens in jobs too. If a company, like if management doesn't know a lot about you on a personal level, No matter how great your work is, if they don't know a lot about you on a personal level in some company environments, then they're not quick to promote you, even if your work is amazing, even if you do a wonderful job. Real estate, it's not necessarily like that. In real estate, they don't care. They're just like, get the job done, which I love. I miss real estate at times. But yeah, in some corporate environments, if they don't know a lot about you personally, then they're not quick to promote you. But my thing is, why do you need to know about someone personally in order to consider them for a promotion? Because when you go to a job, I thought it's all about the job performance, not about your personal life. Your personal life and your work life are two separate things. Can your personal life bleed into your work life? Absolutely. Things happen. It's called life. However, an individual shouldn't feel the need to spill their life story out in front of someone just to get ahead. And I don't do that. But doing that, you have to be vulnerable. And the reason to trust no one is always in my head now is because I've seen both sides. I've seen the good side of people and I've seen the bad side of people. And not saying that there's anything in my life that I'm like, oh God, I wouldn't want anybody to know that, because it's whatever. It's just some things you like to have for yourself. The other thing is, it's not really anybody's business. It just isn't. Just like I don't necessarily care, even though people like to tell me all their business. I told you that I know so many secrets. I know so many secrets that I never even asked to receive, but I'm more of a listener when I talk to people. So yeah, and people, for whatever reason, have always been comfortable being vulnerable with me. I guess one reason is because I don't judge people. I have an opinion, but I don't judge. And for those who may be listening for the first time, go to my episode, Judging versus Opinion. You can check that episode out. But I don't judge anyone. I just don't. Because it's like, who am I to judge? But that might be why people just tell me everything. And also they know that I keep the secrets too. I don't, even people that I fell out with, I've never went. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a true story. Remember I told you guys I was organizing my stuff, and clearing out stuff, making room and all that stuff. And I've been talking about that this week because the new year is coming, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Well, I was going through all this paperwork. I had papers from 5 years. There was a paper that I had that was, what year was that? I'm trying to remember. I want to say 2001 or 2002, maybe. And for whatever reason, it was a guy that I used to date. Like we were trying to make something work. We even lived together and everything else. And it had, or has, his social security number on it. I never did anything with that. It's just, I keep a lot of stuff, weird stuff sometimes. And I was going through all these papers, years old. The average is usually about 5 to 8 years old when I was going through the paper. But that one paper, it was still around and it had his social security number on it. The only way that I had it was because he was vulnerable enough to write it down at the time for me, because I think we were doing something. I don't remember the what the situation was, but I know that it was something that was needed that required his social. So I had it, but I've never done anything with it. And I don't plan to either, because regardless of what the situation would have been, good, bad, or indifferent, that's just not my style. I'm not about to, sell the information or do this or do that with it. But I had it. And he was very vulnerable at the time because I have it. So, yeah, it's just about being vulnerable. And it's not now, it's just like trust no one, because I feel I don't want to have this mindset that everyone is out to get ahead. It just feels that way sometimes. And I try my best not to get stuck in that energy, because one thing about the universe, if you stay stuck in a certain energy, just like I wasn't feeling that well this morning, and I was trying my best to get out of that energy, because I actually almost went to the doctor this morning. I had called one of my friends, my other ex, and I had let him know, hey, just a heads up, might be going to the doctor today. I was like, it depends on how I'm feeling. And he was like, well, I'm working today, but keep me posted. Let me know how you feeling, da, 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 da. I was like, okay, cool. But I didn't want to stay in that energy of, oh, I'm not feeling well. Oh, this, oh, that. I didn't want to stay in that energy. So I was like, okay, stop going to the negative. Stop going to the negative. There's this awesome channel of this lady. She does coffee cup readings and gemstone readings. The channel, if you ever get a chance, it's on YouTube. It's called Cognitive Universe. And when I tell you she is on point, she is on point. It's called Cognitive Universe. Check out her channel sometime. And back a few weeks ago, I was just feeling weird and stuff. And my mind was just going to the negative. And in her reading, she said, something's going on here. And she said, it's not what you think. And sure enough, everything happened as it happened. Excuse me. And it wasn't what I thought it was. And she can give specifics at time too, but I just thought that was interesting. And I'm like, and I even wrote that down on a piece of paper, which I found while I was organizing. Stop going to the negative. Because sometimes you just can't help it. It's easier for the human brain to have a negative thought than to have a positive thought. And people are more drawn to the negative too. That's why when people talk about positivity and things like that, it doesn't always catch on fast, because people are more attracted to drama and negativity. It's human nature. It is what it is. So when it comes to my thoughts on people, I'm doing my best not to go to the negative where it's like, oh, everybody's trying to get ahead. Everyone, just cares about themselves, and no one cares about the universal community as a whole. Because if you put that energy out into the universe is like, oh, that's what you believe? Okay. I got you. I'll send you some. So I do my best. It's just difficult. It's difficult. It's not easy being vulnerable. Whether it's being vulnerable with your family members, because sometimes they want to hold stuff over your head, or they're still stuck on something else and you have evolved since then. but their mentality is still on the old version of you, or dealing with people, whether it's work, whether it's everyday life. Hell, it could be somebody at the grocery store. It is not easy being vulnerable. It isn't. I'm working on my trust. But again, anytime I meet someone new, whether it's online or whatever, is always that Patty Hughes voice is in the back of my head. Trust no one. It just is. It's like, I'll listen. I'll even be polite and entertain. I won't be fake. Check out my episode, Polite versus Fake. But I'll be polite and entertain the conversation. But as for being vulnerable, it's funny. One of the people in the apartment building, she's a lovely woman. And she asked my name, and I told her because we park right next to each other. So we run into each other from time to time and see each other and stuff like that. And I gave her my name, but I didn't ask for hers. And I feel like part of the reason I subconsciously did that was to make sure part of the barrier still stays up. Hey, okay, fine. You can call me if by my name, if you see me out, that's fine. But I'm not necessarily ready to build a relationship because I don't know you. And I'm not sure I want to get to know you. I'm not sure I want to be vulnerable with you. Because it's not easy being vulnerable. I told you this is just a therapy session. That's what this is. This is just a therapy session. So yeah, I will say, goal for 2021 is to be just a little bit more vulnerable. And I know some people who listen to my podcast, they're like, Casey, you have told us so much stuff about you and your family and your love life and everything else. You are as vulnerable as it comes. I can see some people saying that. It's different when I'm on camera. It's just me talking into a phone. That's all it is. I mean, good, bad, or indifferent, you'll have your opinion. And I mean, you can send a tweet or Instagram or whatever. Speaking of which, KIRWKC for Twitter and Instagram. But it's not always the same. If I was, you know what? I'm not gonna go. I wouldn't say that. I was about to say, if I was in front of a group of like 20 or 30 people that came to see me or something, and I had to say something, would I say some of the things that I say on camera? I probably still would. I more than likely still would. But I don't know. It's just different. It's just different. It's not, okay, gotcha. Thank you, universe. That's the word I was looking for. Okay. It's not as intimate as one-on-one. Where if you are dealing with the person, like I said, it doesn't matter what type of relationship. If you're dealing with the person one-on-one, getting to know and all this other stuff, that's different. That's different for me versus me talking into, even though those who have been listening to my podcast or watching or subscribing or liking or sharing or whatever you've been doing, or commenting, which I appreciate all of that. I love you guys to pieces for all of that. It isn't the same as if you're sitting here in the room or on the bed and we're just sitting chatting it up. If we were sitting one-on-one chatting it up, I would filter some of the things that I say while I'm getting to know you. Because it's like, all right, I need to figure out what your energy is. Because I do my best to read people's energy too. And sometimes I can read people's energy in the snap of a finger within the first conversation. And something can tell me, nope, don't, mm-mm. And sometimes it's like, okay, well, let's get to know this person a little bit better. Regardless of what it is, in person, one-on-one, that voice still goes through my head. Trust no one. And that's what I'm looking to work on for the new year. As long as I see it, because I don't take anything for granted. So, yeah, as long as I see the new year, then that's one of the things I want to work on, is to learn to slowly but surely trust people again and be open to the good in people and not have the mindset that people are all about self when dealing with someone one-on-one. So that's my goal. But goal or not, it's not easy being vulnerable. It isn't. And that's all I have for my daily thought. I hope everyone is enjoying their Christmas Eve. Thank you again to those who have been listening to my podcast faithfully. I appreciate it more than you will ever know. I really, really do. And I will do my best to do a Christmas episode tomorrow. So I will do my best. I won't try, because either you do or you don't. I will do my best to deliver a Christmas episode for tomorrow. KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform, but also this podcast can be listened to on Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, list goes on and on. And if you're on Facebook, facebook.com/KIRWKC, swing by the page, give a like, comment, whatever. And yeah, I think that's all I have. Let me get going, because I'm ready to start making dinner. And I want to watch a cheesy Christmas movie. I've been doing that. And I might talk more about that tomorrow, as long as I can get my episode up. But anyways, until next time, be blessed.